I'm here today at the Harley Street Skin Clinic with Dr Aamer Khan, who is the co-founder of the clinic and obviously works here as well. And we were just talking about the fact that it's April 2021 and we're coming out of lockdown, and obviously people are very keen to do treatments, tweakments, all the many things that they do here. And I do love it here because you can do absolutely everything. I do my fracture affirm here, which is a radio frequency treatment. I do photodynamic therapy and the Visio machine. I mean, and you can do anything here from injectables to surgery, anything. And of course, I think people are a bit nervous, you know, as keen as they are to come and do treatments. Is it safe now, do you think? And what have you done in the clinic to make it safe?
I think it's important to understand that when you come to a medical establishment, and that's what we are and what other medical clinics are, that we have a standard that we comply to. And that minimum standard is one of hygiene, cleanliness. All of those things are really important. Now, during the first lockdown, it was quite a challenge to try and think about how we could make things safe. How can we make things safe in this really unusual time when we have a pandemic where the risks of getting an infection were high, and coming out of the first lockdown, there was that uncertainty as to what was going to happen. I mean, we suspected that, you know, unless we approach things properly, then things could escalate really quickly. And you know, and they did in certain areas of the community, and we had to go into a second lockdown.
Yes, and a third.
And
a fourth.
Yeah. Well, you know, but I think we're just about getting there. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But what we did was I sat down and I spoke with my colleagues, and I spoke to my associates within the government departments, and we talked about what was happening and how we could realistically make things safe, not just for our patients but also for our staff.
Right.
So what we did was we brought in new protocols, new policies into the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
I put together a training program for everybody who was working here, and everybody went on that training program. And before we opened, we had a dry run as well. So I think, you know, we approached it seriously, which meant that we created a safe environment, and it's been fed back to us not just by our patients, that they feel safe and confident coming to the clinic, but also from our colleagues as well. You know, our patients who are within the National Health Service and other clinics, they say that yes, we've gone over the top a little bit.
Well, I have to say, I've been very impressed, and I remember coming here in June last year after the first lockdown, and I was a bit nervous, and my goodness, you had so many things in place, you know, temperature taken, I was sprayed, I was doused, I had things put over my shoes, and then I remember you had a temperature thing on the ceiling, and as you came in and took your temperature, you don't have that one anymore. But yes, I was very impressed, and I can't think of any other place I've actually been in the last year where such care has been taken, but I find that very reassuring.
And a lot of people do, and I think certainly when we first opened up, we went overboard compared to everybody else.
Yes.
You know, we've also got an environmental sanitizer, which is UV light, and you know, it combines UV light, UVC light, and ozone particles
I didn't know that.
within the waiting area. So you know,
Yes.
once we opened up the waiting area to patients, we had to ensure that the air they were breathing was being sanitized on an ongoing basis, and microbes were being killed within the atmosphere. But it was safe as well, because a lot of technology out there hasn't been tested for its safety. So we had to. I spent a lot of time researching it and talking to the manufacturers and looking at their credentials before we brought it in. So you know, so we've got safe environment and safe.
So there's really nothing more you could have done. And just one other question, just one last question. So once people enter the treatment room, you know, depending what they have, how safe is that with the equipment that's being used and everything that's involved in all the many different treatments that you do?
Well, just like minimising the staff, reducing the number of people in the building controlling contact as people came in and went out. So there was a time after the first lockdown that you would never see anybody else coming in and out, because we timed it so that people were coming in, and then the next appointment was coordinated, so whilst they were in one room, the other room was sanitised, the next patient would go into the other room, things were sanitised, the first patient would leave, and then that room would, so we were going by, across the rooms.
Yes.
And one doctor was across 2 or 3 rooms.
Right. And what are you doing now? So what is your, at this juncture, what?
Well, we've got more doctors in now.
Yes.
We have a waiting area where the atmosphere is sanitised, the seats are sanitised regularly, and we have very few patients within the waiting area. So now we do have patients, but they're in the corners, so they're spaced. So
that all sounds very reassuring. So you think if people do want to have treatments and go out and venture out, you think as long as they go somewhere, like your clinic, that that all the protocols have been taken, you think
I think protocols are part of it, but I think the important thing is understanding that the virus doesn't rest. As long as we're aware of where the risks are, where the cracks are in the system, then simple hand hygiene, simple distancing, things like that, and people are more used to wearing masks now.
Yes.
The idea of shields is coming in, and I think it's a good idea.
Also, we reach a point, we've been in this situation for a long time, as you mentioned, various safeguards of all capacities have been put into place, and we do need to get out there again. We need to, for our immune systems, if nothing else. So we do need to start living our lives again. And of course, I guess anything in life is going to have risks.
Absolutely.
But people, if precautions are taken by themselves and by the place that they're going to, then it is a risk worth taking, maybe.
Absolutely. And we've had a year to learn about it.
Yeah.
When we first came into this, there was very little knowledge about the virus. Even we were uncertain as to how it would behave. But we've been in it for over a year now, and we've all learned. We've learned the right way to combat it, the right behaviours, and I think it's about time we started trusting the public more to take the responsibility, because they've got the knowledge. And if we don't know by now, then we're never going to know, are we?
And also, you can't just live in fear and never go out. I mean, you need healthy fear. I'm not suggesting that anybody does anything that they shouldn't, but we do need to get on with our lives and do things.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, as I said, I've been so impressed with the clinic and everything you've